And welcome aboard the 4 to 7 podcast. CH and JD, as always. I'm not going to waste my time asking you how you're doing tonight because I know that we both thought about killing ourselves quite a bit here in the last 5 to 6 days or so, or however long it's been. It's been 43 years since either of our teams have won a game. Yankees suck. The Yankees suck. The Mets suck. The Yankees went 3 straight games without scoring a run, and they have now lost 6 games in a row. Mets got swept by the Rays. Are about to get swept maybe by the Braves, although, we'll see what happens there. But, and the Yankees are on the verge of getting swept by the Angels. So putting it lightly, things are, things right now are not good. So, good chance there is going to be, some crashing out on this episode. Turns out the title of our last episode did age pretty poorly because there is in fact a June swoon, and it's hit the New York baseball regions particularly bad. So
we might as well have named the title of the episode. What are you gonna do? Stab me? Guy who was stabbed.
That might actually have to be our episode title. So I like the quick thinking on the feet. Where should we begin? Should I crash out first, or should you crash out first?
I feel like you have the right to crash out first because at least one of your sweeps led to an unnecessary and hilarious implosion.
Yeah, very true. That was like a brief. Yeah, the Rafael Devers trade, which we will speak on a little bit more later. That was a brief pause in the crashing out, I guess, after shutting us out twice in a row and, sweeping us and taking 5 out of 6, because we played them the weekend before as well against the Red Sox. They decided, that they were winning too much and that they needed to put a stop to that. So they traded away their best player who didn't want to do certain things for them, but now he's down to do whatever for the San Francisco Giants. So we'll certainly get to that. And, that was it was a nice Sunday night, like shot of dopamine, I guess, or like a shot of dopamine, a little shot of serotonin in between all the losing baseball games and not scoring runs and not hitting. But it's still crash out season nonetheless. To put it lightly, the Yankees have hit their first real skid or real slide of the season. They hadn't really lost too many series, if any at all, up until June. So, it's something about this month where the Yankees always seem to forget how to play baseball. And I think that what the most frustrating thing with the Yankees is, and this has kind of been the theme all throughout the Boone Cashman regime and the past 7 or 8 seasons now, is that when the bats go cold and this team can't hit and they can't win games by manufacturing home runs, they lack the fundamentals in other areas of the game to make up for that. It's always some really bad defense or some piss poor base running the bases like a bunch of drunks, as John Sterling would say. They make all these dumb mistakes. And nothing ever seems to change. Aaron Boone, when asked about these mistakes, never seems to have any concerns about them. And I know that, press conferences are mostly useless and don't really matter. And you're not really there to throw your players under the bus, but maybe a little bit more of a sense of urgency or message of some sort of accountability, and not just when it's Gleyber Torres when you feel like it, who's actually having a really good year with the Tigers now. Um, maybe that would, maybe some stuff like that would come in handy at a time like this, because it just seems, and like it just seems it doesn't matter what happens. Like, you can lose in the World Series, and players from that team can tell you exactly how they beat you, and you're more concerned with the fact that they're being cocky. It's a bunch of loser shit. I'm tired of it. I think Kev had a pretty funny tweet. He said that George Steinbrenner is looking up and rolling in his grave over this. And yeah, I couldn't agree more.
There really is nothing better than saying someone's looking up. This isn't even me like commentating on Steinbrenner. Just whenever that joke's used, it's very funny.
Yeah, very funny and very true. So yeah, and it's especially disappointing because the pitching is like still holding it together. And they're still getting, very, they're still getting very good, respectable outings out of their starters.
Yeah, you can't. I don't know how much you can blame pitching when it's literally when your team does not score.
Yeah, you can't win 0-0.
Right.
You can't win 0-0. And when you got, when you got like, Max Fried is still doing his thing. We got Rodon going tomorrow. Ryan Yarbrough gave you a pretty good game against a pretty bad Angels team tonight.
Left with the lead, I believe.
He I believe you're correct. It was 2-, or it might have been tied. Yeah, I think he left with the lead. He left with the lead, but I do believe that run was ultimately charged to him.
Yeah, let me
because I think it was a runner. Or wait, no, it was tied. He got taken out in the sixth inning after he got the first. So yeah, no, he did not leave with the lead, but he left only giving up 2 over, 5 1/3 for a guy who's like not a real starter. You gotta take advantage of that, and yeah, they haven't been doing it. I think it's time. I think it's time to rip the Band-Aid off, and the Yankees need to trade for an actual everyday third baseman. It's a shame that one was just available, apparently. Although I don't think they would have done that type of business with us. But
although I do believe someone said this in the Discord Sunday night, if you're the Yankees, you call San Francisco, right?
You gotta call.
Worst they can say is no, right?
Yeah. The worst thing you can say is go fuck yourself and hang up.
Yeah, the Giants would be like, listen, we understand, but no.
There's no. Yeah, that's what you call that's just what you call due diligence.
Listen, I know Dua Lipa's engaged. I'm still calling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't let the goalie stop you from trying to score. So
it just takes one time to be weak. That's all. Exactly.
That's all it takes. So you catch them, maybe call them at an opportune time. Like call 6. It's 6. Call at 6 in the morning when you wake up. It's 3 a.m. there. Maybe the GM was out drinking, and maybe you put a few prospects on the table, and you make them sound better than they actually are, and you see what happens. But I do think it's time to rip the Band-Aid off and trade for an everyday third baseman. I like Jazz Chisholm a lot, but he is way better at second base. I think his defense at second base has actually been very good, but there are a lot of plays that that he's been playing at third lately, because they got DJ at second because they're just insistent on doing that. I mean, even if you just wanted to switch their positions for the time being until you make said trade, but said trade needs to be made. You can't be fooled by like whatever good week in June DJ, good couple of weeks in May and June DJ LeMahieu just had. You have to be proactive, get an everyday third baseman that can make those plays and provide that pop. Obviously, the defensive alignment's a little more complicated without Oswaldo Cabrera, but he was never really like the long-term answer at third base anyway. So you need to get something figured out there. As far as Anthony Volpe goes, I mean, I guess we're stuck with him at shortstop for now. I think he could use a day off or two because he's just, I don't know, his, at first it was just like his approach at the plate is just terrible. Now he's making errors, costing us games. I say just give him the day game off tomorrow. Let him get his head right. We got the Orioles coming to town, and as of right now, while those should be wins because Baltimore hasn't been too good. Apparently the Yankees like to play down to the competition a little bit, and all of a sudden, what was once a very uncompetitive AL East, you now only have a 1.5 game lead on that division because the Rays actually came back from down like 8-3 to Baltimore today. Or it was 8-0. Well, the first time I saw it was like 8-3, like the first time I saw a score. But yeah, they came back from down 8-0 to win 12-8. So now it's only a 1.5 game lead. So all of a sudden that lead you built up has kind of been pissed away in the AL East. So you got Tampa and Toronto right on your ass. And Boston's not terribly far behind either. And what was once considered to be an uncompetitive AL East is now looking like it's once again going to be a shit show as the Yankees are clinging to the lead, and the rest of the teams that are not the Orioles currently occupy all the wild card spots.
Well, good news, Tampa does face the Tigers this weekend, so there is that.
Yeah, they are going to miss Skubal, though.
True. Although pretty... not
that the Tigers are
serviceable rotation
or anything. Right. Yeah, they do have they're just a very good all-around team. But like not having the face Skubal, I imagine makes it at least a little bit easier.
By the way, real quick aside, and I'm sure you'll be in lockstep with this because it's your second team we're talking about here. If the Pirates aren't going to be competitive for themselves, at the very least, if you're going to have a doubleheader in which Skubal and Skeens are pitching at some point, give us that.
Yeah, come on.
If it logically makes sense for Skeens to be pitching the first game against Skubal, throw us a bone. If you're not going to throw your fans a bone, give the rest of us something.
Yeah. I don't understand what the issue is because Skubal was supposed to pitch today. And Skeens was supposed to pitch tomorrow. Heaney was supposed to pitch today as well.
Right.
So Skeens was originally slated for the 1:00 start tomorrow, and and that's when Skubal's going to start. And now it looks like we're getting Heaney versus Skubal, and then Skeens versus the opener or whoever the Tigers decide to throw out in that second game.
Although to be fair, and I'm not accusing Paul Skeens of anything, but given the way LSU won this evening, he might be torqued. And I'm not talking about the Tigers' first baseman here.
Yeah, he might be torqued.
He might be a little happy this evening.
Yeah, he might be. Yeah, he might be bricked up. So maybe it's actually in his best interest that he's starting the late game at 5:30 instead of the 1:00 game.
Yeah, he'll need that time.
He might need that time. He also, I think, just I guess he flew back from Omaha or whatever because I guess he was at the College World Series with Livy. So
also, as far as I know, he did take part of the Jello Shot Challenge. So salute to him for being
I saw that online too. It looked like he was involved. Congratulations to the LSU Tigers for taking advantage of a cursed Arkansas Razorbacks team and advancing to the finals of the College World Series. They will play Coastal Carolina. Go Chanticleers.
That was some devil magic that even the St. Louis Cardinals are amazed by. Shout out to the poor left fielder for Arkansas because I'm not even sure that's your fault. I don't know if there's anything you could have done to stop that.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, like it's so odd because like it just seems like it just kind of seemed like he like shit his pants like as he was going to make a play on the ball, and yeah, it does almost seem like there were greater forces at work.
Yeah, he just happened to be the poor soul in front of that ball. I mean, that could have been anybody.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, Yankees suck. Not gonna sugarcoat it. They got Rodon versus Ty Anderson tomorrow, and then and then they gotta play Baltimore, and you gotta take care of business. Like you gotta get back to the winning ways. You gotta take at least 2 out of 3 in that series. Like no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Then they head out to Cincinnati. So Cincinnati, not exactly a good team either. So you got some, you got through the Red Sox, or actually Cincinnati is
they are over 500.
Yeah, they're over 500. That kind of, I feel like that kind of came out of nowhere. They're doing better than expected.
And without Hunter Green, maybe the most
without their best pitcher. So
although I will say Andrew Abbott is making a very legitimate all-star case at the moment. His ERA is under 2. I think his whip is, if it's not under 1, it's somewhere in the 1-0s.
Yeah, Nick Lodolo has had a pretty solid year as well.
Another good one. Yeah, it's one of those. Like this weekend would be the get right series for the Yankees in terms of Baltimore's pitching is just terrible no matter who they have out there. Cincinnati, I wouldn't say it's a get right series in the sense of their pitching's not good, because it is. But if you're an offense that's looking to just get some semblance of confidence back, to be playing in Great American Ballpark in late June, that's got to be the thing where that's the great equalizer, which looking at the pitching matchups for those series, it's Nick Lodolo, who's been good.
Yeah.
Nick Martinez, who another guy I would just call a professional pitcher. Like whatever you have him do, he'll do it. And Brady Singer's been okay. Not great, not bad. But even facing those 3, it's one of the shortest parks in the league, and the weather's warm. If your offense gets going at all, that'll help you. So this should be a prime opportunity before you see San Diego next weekend too. I think you guys are just kind of in a rut right now where it's like you just need to see the ball find the gap a few times, or see the ball go over the wall and be like, okay, we don't suck at this. Like, no,
yeah, there has been
good professional hitters.
Yeah, there has been a good deal of bad luck too. Like they kind of got boned. Like they kind of got boned on that call in extra innings again in the game against the Red Sox on Friday, where DJ LeMahieu hit a ball that was clearly fair that they called foul, and if that is called correctly, the Yankees probably at least win that game. I'm not going to make excuses for everything else that happened. And then like in tonight's game, they had Grisham on first, and I believe I think Bellinger hit one. Bellinger hit one like he like grounded it was like a ground ball to second base. But it hit off of Grisham's toe, so he was out, and then the ball trickled to the outfield. But I guess that's not even that bad luck, because if it's fielded cleanly, it's probably just a double play.
Potentially
a double
one
play.
of those things like, man, if our guy could have like just swung himself that way, maybe we'd be all right.
Yeah, and like he didn't even particularly do anything like wrong, I guess. I mean, maybe
they usually don't.
Yeah,
not on plays like that. I mean, it really is luck of the draw.
Yeah, that is just bad luck. Like the Yankees had plenty of like base running blunders that are like legitimate gripes and concerns. But they like something like that is just sheer luck. But I mean, with and then I'm just tired of hearing that Volpe is like a good defender. Like, because anytime he has to make a play where it really matters, he never makes the play. I feel like whenever he makes the error or something, like that was a tailor-made easy double play, would have had us out of the inning. We probably end up winning that game if he makes that play. But I mean, or we're still playing that game right now if he makes that play. But yeah, it seems that anytime late in the game, in a close game, when it really matters, that's when Anthony Volpe is gonna, make a dumb like head spinning error.
Well, there was, I mean, I didn't see it, but I know the Discord was hot after last Friday. Like, I don't know if it was Stefan or somebody. Well, not Stefan, but there was somebody in the 4 to 7 channel that was like, I'm done with Volpe. And I was like,
I think it was JJ.
okay, yeah, you're right. And I'm just like, what happened? And then I go back and look at the feed, and it's the Volpe fielding error sets up the rest of the inning. It's like,
Yeah, I forgot about that. I was like out to dinner, but yeah, he no, Volpe stinks, and his approach at the plate right now is just bad. Dude needs a day off in the worst way. But yeah, just you gotta like I'm not even sure like if what stadium they play in right now really matters, because I mean it's like you're in Yankee Stadium and you're not hitting. You're in Fenway Park, which is fairly like hitter friendly, and they weren't hitting there. So, I mean, you got another home series, and then you go to another hitter friendly park. I mean, I would say if anything, hopefully they can get themselves right against Baltimore's shitty pitching, and then, they're still in a hitter friendly park and situation in Cincinnati, and maybe they can take advantage of the fact they don't have to see Hunter Green, and they can at least I think some of their better pitchers we're gonna end up missing them. So
also, I had it wrong. You guys don't go to San Diego after that. I was looking at the Reds schedule. You guys
that's right. We already played San Diego at home.
You get the A's after Cincinnati, and the A's pitching has
they've been pretty abysmal too. So
the A's might just be the new Tungsten Armo Doyle team, because it's like Jacob Wilson went 5 for 5. Tyler Soderstrom had 3 extra base hits. Lawrence Butler went 4 for 5.
Yeah, and Brent Rooker, everyone's doing work, and then
who was the dude? Denzel Carter makes the greatest catch you've ever seen.
And then they lose like 12-11.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we do have the A's after that. So, you have a chance to salvage this. You have a chance to salvage what has been a shitty month. The problem is like, I don't know, like the fact that because I thought Boston was a bad team like before that series, and like they probably still are a bad team, and especially a bad team now that they traded Devers. But yeah, you have some shitty teams where you can get yourself right before you have like a pretty what looks to be a pretty big matchup with big implications to like end the month of June / start the month of July with the Toronto Blue Jays. So yeah, it's time to it's time to get your shit together, and it's time to make a move.
It is one of those things, and it kind of applies to the Mets as well, which we'll get to. But I did reference this in a recent episode. It's almost every single team has this stretch at some point in their season. Like I said last year for 2 months, like the Yankees all looked like they had just started playing baseball for the first time.
Yeah, and that's where we're at now.
I remember the Dodgers when they got to the World Series in 2017. I think they won 105 games or something like that. And they had like a 14-game losing streak in September. They were far enough ahead; it didn't matter. But even that team can go through that. So
yeah, that's why I'm kind of even though we're playing these shitty teams, it's like nothing feels like a given, like that we're just gonna take care of business against these teams.
It's one of those things like you're in it, so you're like, man, we're never gonna get out of this, because that's what and you're in it. And it's also kind of the whole nature of, well, not every streak's created equal. It's like,
right.
If the bullpen was having a few bad games, it's all right. Well, we'll go get some relievers at the deadline. Well, we can just swap guys out. Teams do that. But when you go through a 29 inning scoreless streak, it's like, okay, but this is the one thing we're supposed to be able to do. And then, and we're not exactly doing this against the 2010 Phillies, We're not facing Hamels, Halliday, and Lee
Right.
and Oswalt. Like this should be easier than it. Like, okay, Crochet threw well in one of the games. Like, hey, that guy beat you. Okay, that's what he does.
You can live with that. Like
Garrett Whitlock's got you in knots. That's not good.
Yeah, and Hunter Dobbins, who talked all this shit. Hunter Dobbins talked all this shit about the Yankees, which he's on the Red Sox, so I respect the dedication to keeping the rivalry and keeping bad blood between the players and the organizations going. Because you hear too much about, you hear all about how sports have gone soft. Everyone's friends now, so they don't really care about rivalries the same.
Later.
What's that?
This is a tease for later.
It is indeed a tease for later. He basically said that he would never play for the Yankees, even if he said if the Yankees were the last team to offer him a contract, he'd retire. Like Ken Griffey Jr., which was basically based on a lie that his dad told him. That I think his dad told him that he got a deal for the he got a deal from the Yankees or an offer, or he got invited to spring training, but he said that they treated him poorly or underpaid him or something. I think he came for a spring training tryout or something, and he said that he was treated poorly, but I think someone looked into it and that guy never played above AA ball or anything like that. So just an outright lie. But I respect the dedication to the beef. But that's a guy when he says that, and then when Jazz Chisholm's we should bring that shit talk back, and I'll be outside. That's all good and dandy, but you got to hit someone like that. You got to not physically actually hit them, but you got to be able to, tat him up and tack on some runs after he talks shit like that.
It's he's on the other side. He's not supposed to like us, but it's you can't just be out here lying. I don't know. Okay. You want to talk about our organization that way, and it's not even true. All right. Here's 8 on your head. We're just going to play wall ball off the monster all night.
Yeah. Or even the game at Yankee Stadium the weekend before, which is when I think that quote first came out. They kind of came up small against him too. I think Jazz said before that game, he was talking, he was I'll see you or whatever. But I'm pretty sure he had a pretty he had a pretty lackluster game that night. He didn't do anything.
And Dobbins' whole defense for that was well, I just believe my dad. He was a baseball player. You look up to your dad, and it's we're not saying don't, but I think everybody had that friend growing up or had the kid in their class who his dad knew everybody.
At least for me, the compulsive liar.
Yeah, we had a kid when
growing up around here. One of my friends taught Shaq how to dribble in first grade.
Yeah, literally, it's I don't know. My dad takes care of all of Shaq's cars. It's really, where do they live at? We can't tell you. Okay,
goes to a different school.
Right.
You wouldn't know her.
Right. There should be stuff that enough times you're wait, well, why? But why didn't he tell me? All right, well, who? Well, he must have talked with somebody who was on the Yankees at that time. He must know. Okay, the organization treated him poorly, but I bet he's still friends with somebody. No, none of that ever crossed his mind.
Yeah, okay. He could have. Yeah, he didn't even need to say that whole thing about his.
That too.
that whole thing about his dad.
Even if he believed it, he could have just. He could have not said that story and be like, "Yeah, I would never play for him. I don't like him," and it would have pressed him. Well, why? Yeah, I got a long memory, and people would have been like, "Okay, something happened there," and that would have been the end of it. You could have just said that. You could leave that open. You could leave people's imaginations to think whatever, but without showing your ass.
Yeah. So I guess his dad told him that he was drafted by the Yankees twice, and like treated poorly and got and got traded to the Diamondbacks. But his like the media guide and like official records only show that he was with the Diamondbacks from 1996 to 1997. And yeah, I don't think he made it like any higher than like double A.
He wasn't even in the Diamondbacks organization when they officially started.
Yeah, he was a pre Diamondback.
Oh, actually I stand corrected. In this story, he claims to have been friends with Andy Pettitte. That was also made up. Well,
yeah.
In that case, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, no, I guess your dad bamboozled you, and it happens. But you get the last laugh because you had two pretty strong outings against them where they couldn't really get anything going against you. So yeah, and Judges hit his first slump of the year, and it just seems like everyone else just kind of following suit. We got Giancarlo back, so and he's actually been pretty solid overall. He's like been one of the few Yankees that actually he hasn't hit any home runs yet, but he's one of the few that's actually getting hits and getting on base. So can't even really put too much of it on him. And Ben Rice has cooled down, Trent Grisham's cooled down a bit. So all those memes about Trent Grisham and Juan Soto.
Hold on, Trent better than Juan Soto. Grisham is now hitting 200 for the last month. I know I didn't hear that correctly.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
That's interesting, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, these things have a way of correcting themselves.
Well, shortly you still have the best number 22 in New York, right?
Unfortunately, we don't. Ben Rice is also not hitting. Well, he had a good night behind the dish tonight.
This is all I have, by the way. This is all I
yeah, I know. No, get it off. But yeah, Ben Rice has kind of cooled down too, which it's, and then that was going to be my next point was we talked on like the last episode and like a few episodes about like, oh, what do you do what do you do about Ben Rice when Giancarlo Stanton comes back? Like you got to keep him in the lineup, but sometimes these things just have ways of working themselves out.
But even still, I feel like for as good as he's been pretty much since you guys called him up, not that he's bulletproof per se, but he's been productive enough that you kind of just have to let him hit his way out of this. He's given you enough results, and he's been one of your more consistent guys up until these past few weeks that, look, he's been good enough since we called him up. Like, let him figure it out. Like, one, where else are you going to go? And two, you have a guy who's proven that he can handle this. Where at whatever position you put him at, whatever position you put him in the lineup, he's generally going to hit. Guys will hit slums, sure, but given all the uncertainty that's been around the lineup, you've been able to count on that guy. So you trust him to let him figure this out.
Right. Yeah. No, you're right. I feel like it's kind of like I guess where I see it going is that I think he's just gonna platoon first base for the most part with Goldschmidt. Because Goldschmidt has like really good numbers against lefties, and his numbers against righties are not quite as good. So it kind of makes sense for him to just platoon first base. Maybe the occasional start at catcher. I mean, he did. If there's one takeaway from like tonight's game specifically, at least now that like Ben Rice is competent behind the dish. He caught a runner steal. He did caught a runner stealing like early in the game. He had a ball that like kind of he did have like a ball that kind of got away from him. I don't think it was a pass ball because it didn't really go past him, but he like blocked it. But it was a ball in the dirt. He kind of blocked it and it got away from him a little bit, and like it allowed the runners on first and second.
Put that on the pitcher
to move over. Yeah, more on the pitcher. And maybe he could have like stayed on the ball a little bit better. Like maybe a more experienced catcher like keeps it in their area code to where the runners don't take off. But overall, like he was very competent, and he called a good game behind the plate. So
It
at
might be
least
getting
there's that
in LA again, by the way.
What's that?
Yeah, we might have some activity in LA again here shortly. So I've got this on. Muncy took a pitch right off his kneecap, and it hit the first base bag. That's how much it ricocheted.
Oh.
But he swung, so he had to finish the at bat. Then he singled, and then Pages was just up, and the Padres still have their starter in the game, and he got him right on the nameplate. And now they're showing the montage of everything that happened last night. So everyone in the stands got up like, hey, we're just going to allow this. But it's the seventh inning, and it's 3-1, so I can't imagine the Dodgers are going to try anything stupid. Because you have the lead. Why?
You're in control, and you have a chance to put more. Yeah, you're in control. I mean, I saw the. Yeah, I'm watching. I just put it on now because. I just put it on now because you brought it to my attention.
Kind of surprising they still have Kolek in there.
Yeah, it is surprising they haven't taken him out. You would think by now it's like, all right, like especially like facing Tommy Edman a third time, like after you clearly like you're. I don't think there was any malintent, like, and like I don't think the Padres would try anything stupid either, because like they're trying to win this game too. They're trying to get back in it. So
he's in the upper 90s. He might just be losing command.
I think
it's plausible.
I think it's late in the game and his command is going, and it's just time to take him out.
But everybody's on tilt from last night, so any little thing and people are ready to go, which I get.
Yeah,
and he just got the first out of the inning, and they're pulling him now.
Yep. All right. Yeah. Well played. That's what you gotta do.
Keep an eye on that.
I think I have. I think I streamed Kulik in one of my fantasy leagues. So yeah, keep that quality start intact.
Yeah. You're right on 3 runs for right now. So it's the double play would be your best friend here, and his.
Yep. And his. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I got as far as the Yankees go, but I do have this stream up now because you've brought this to my attention, and in case if there's a bench clearing brawl, we can report on it live. But yeah, that's about all I got on the Yankees. You want to do the honors and crash out over the Mets?
I dare the Atlanta Braves to trade Austin Riley to the Twins. Cleveland, go trade Acuna. You won't do it. Trade Albies. Move Matt Olson. I don't want to see him ever again. Send him back to the AL.
Yeah, you're winning too much. You're fucking up your tank, or I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what Boston was thinking with that.
Yeah, but don't you want to be in a position to draft another guy out of the Atlanta area that turns into a 10-year star for you that you get to grossly underpay? You want to do that, right?
Yeah, get out. Yeah, just get out. Just get ahead of it. Perfect time to do it.
This is why I feel like I did bring this up in recent weeks leading into this series, and I told the people in my life that care about baseball and a few that are Braves fans, and I said, they could be 10-100. I would be terrified of going to Truist Park for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
We've seen it unfold.
Yeah, especially
they had that game 1 last on Tuesday night as we record this now, and as soon as Acuna made that catch with the double play, I should have turned it off. Yeah. There's no way you're winning it after that. But I'm a dumbass, and I kept watching. And I was the Homer Simpson meme of just in bed being like. And thankfully, I was out winning trivia tonight, so I didn't have to watch any of that game.
It's
only made me more pissed off.
Yeah, I was keeping up with the, with it on MLB Game Day. while I was watching the Yankees. And yeah, all I could think was that, thank God you're at trivia and winning trivia, because yeah, I wonder if you came on if you came on here and you like lost a trivia in like heartbreaking fashion and that happens, like yeah, it might be real unstable hours here.
It's much like what we just talked about with the Yankees. Like, yeah, even if this team's good, even if this team ends up winning 90-something games, which they're still on pace to do,
Yeah.
you just want those signs of this is different. Like, all the banana peels that got you in the past, you're going to be fine. And especially knowing what the Braves did. And I saw so many people talking in the past week to 10 days of, oh, we'll be okay when we go to Atlanta. Game 161, exercise those demons. And I go, whoa. Maybe eventually it does. And I bring up 2004 as a reference point. Like, we all knew that was a big moment when it happened. And it's like, well, things have to be different after this, right? And it's like, yeah, but you still have to do it. And it's like, yeah, finally we went to Atlanta and got him in a big spot. It's like, but you have to keep doing that for it to really, like,
otherwise it's just a blip on the radar.
Yeah, it's a one-off, which glad it happened. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah, you'll always have it.
If this franchise is gonna, like, they want to talk about turning the culture over and becoming a perpetual winning team, you got to start taking these off these guys regularly. And to lose the 2 games the way they did, especially last night, where Peterson shoved for 7 innings and then it falls apart the way it does, where
they were well on their way to winning that game.
More than any one player, I blame Mendoza for not. Peterson earned the right to go out for the 8th inning. Sure. I will never really be upset at a manager for thinking he can get one more inning out of his starter when he's pitched that well. If you know your starter's laboring, yeah, don't push it. But Peterson had done nothing to suggest that was coming. But you should always have that backup plan ready to go of, hey, if the first guy gets on and our starters,
a short hook.
It's got to be like, hey, look, if you can set these guys down 1, 2, 3, cool, do it. But if it looks like there's any trouble, we're going to pull you. I mean, you did bad. But the fact that Garrett had like barely warmed up when they brought him in, nearly got out of it, which he's starting to make a habit of. And also, if Ozuna doesn't pull off an all-time emergency swing to keep the at-bat alive, they're out of the inning. And then that ball just does stay fair, which there was talk today about, Alvarez owned that, Garrett wanted fastball and I called slider, and Garrett's like, no, that's been my out pitch. Like, that wasn't his fault. I didn't get it over.
Yeah.
Like I said, and there was so much talk about with the Acuna play of, well, the umpire didn't call out fast enough. The whole stadium exploded when he caught that ball. That should have been enough of a sign of, all right, I think that guy caught it. I feel like too many people were trying to scapegoat the umpire when it's like, should have been obvious that ball was caught. And
are you talking about, was that the Soto base running error?
Yeah, which, again, he should probably know, he's been on the bases long enough. He's been in the majors long enough. This shouldn't, I don't blame him for like hoping that, hey, look, if this ball hits the wall, I'm going to, let me sneak ahead a little bit here and maybe I can steal a run off this, but you got to be ready for the other side too. And then just the fact that it kind of feels like everything's changed since Kodai Senga got hurt. That kind of feels like the moment that all of this went haywire, because it was his best start of the year. And I don't say that lightly, because all the numbers had been good before that, but it never felt like he had been firing the way he was in 23. It was, even the one start he had in the regular season last year, he was dicing up Atlanta, and then he got hurt. And he never quite had a start like that until last week on a freak play, which salute Senga being an all-time teammate for being in that position and telling his translator, hey, tell Pete it's not his fault.
Yeah.
Which is a separate issue, but it feels like everything's been off since that moment. And I wonder if maybe they were going to hit this anyway, and it's just unfortunate timing that this is happening right after that. But I think they know, like, hey, if we're going to be anything, yeah, we need Sean Manaea back too. But Kodai Senga proved in year one that he was an ace. And then when he came back last year, that was the biggest thing about that injury was, oh, we got 2023 Senga back. Let's go do this. And then, like, I think even that kind of took them out of it for a little while. I believe their funk on the West Coast happened within a week of that happening. And it took them a little bit to get out of that too. But
yeah, it seems like you guys have been, it seems like every time Senga looks like he's back to form, he gets hurt again, and it's just like very unfortunate. Like
it's not even like, oh, he hurt a muscle again. It's one, he was trying to get out of a way on a pop-up last year, and this year he made an athletic play covering first base. Like, those are just two freak occurrences. Like, if he was always having muscle issues, it'd be like, okay, something's fundamentally wrong. The two instances that he's been hurt in games the past 2 seasons, what are you supposed to do? You don't plan for that.
Yeah, I think last year he just got hurt. He pitched really well, and then he just got hurt like after his first start back, and then he wasn't available again till October. So yeah, I mean, what exactly is what exactly is like the timeline right now for Senga?
Well, Mendoza basically made it sound as if it's going to be 2 weeks without baseball activity. They called it a low-grade strain. So that right there was a good sign, because I remember when he had the calf injury last year, I think by the end of that night, because it was a Friday night game.
Yeah.
By the time we all went to bed that night, they had pretty much confirmed, yeah, he's going to be done for the rest of the regular season. If they get to the playoffs, maybe you get something from him. But yeah, this is definitely going to be a month.
Yeah, it's going to be multiple month.
And this does not sound like that. This sounds like
week to week.
Ideally, maybe right after the All-Star break, which,
yeah,
I mean, they're getting Sean Manaea back within the next 2 weeks. They're supposed to get Frankie Montas back next week. I don't know if that's a good thing, because his minor league numbers have not been great.
Yeah, he's been getting shelled down out in Syracuse, right?
Yeah, and now they have McGill go on the IL, which, whether that's a phantom injury, I don't know. But right now, they don't have a starter lined up for Friday. And
yeah, you got Holmes tomorrow going up against Strider, and then it's kind of like you just gotta figure it out from there.
And that's
like,
so that's
is
part
that
of
maybe
it.
A bullpen game?
Well, there was talk about using an opener, and Brandon Waddell would have been an ideal guy for use to that, but he started for Syracuse last night, so he would be on short rest in Syracuse. I can't imagine that they would bring him up on short rest to pitch against the Phillies on the road. That would be crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like the best idea.
There's I think the pipe dream is they call Nolan McLean up, who is another one of their recent draft picks. I want to say I think he went in the first 3 rounds 2 years ago, because he also went to Oklahoma State, and the Mets' first round pick last year went to Oklahoma State as well. They were both two-way guys. McLean decided he was going to be a pitcher. Carson Bench ended up choosing hitting. But McLean has been great pretty much since he made his pro debut. I feel like if they were going to take a minor league pitcher first, they probably would go with Jonah Tong, who is continuing to shove. I don't think they want to speed up his development just yet. They might go back to Blade Tidwell, which they had to do this in a similar spot in April when they were in St. Louis, and it did not go well for Blade Tidwell, but he's on the 40-man roster, so his clock's already started for whatever that's worth. Yeah. And I think they don't want to do that for McLean or Tong or Sproat just yet, because eventually the rotation's going to fill back in, and then you're going to have to send them back down, and now we started their free agency clock, and we might not get them back up this year.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with the service time or mess with the player's confidence, like send them
Right.
up, send them back down, like all the back and forth.
Yeah, and then they'll
And
be
I
like,
also
"What? You
feel
just
like,
I was good to use one time, and that's it." And then they've
yeah,
got to wonder what else they
yeah,
have
like,
to do.
yeah, like, oh, yeah, like, what's it gonna take? Like, it basically took an emergency situation for me to start, and you sent me right back down. Like, I could see that. Yeah, I could definitely see that getting tiresome. Also, like, as much as Tyler McGill sucks, like, I do feel like that's not like it's never ideal to like lose a starting pitcher, even if it is just to like a strained ERA, especially not in like the situation that the Mets are in right now, where
No.
we've discussed it all year how they're not really getting length out of their starters.
Well,
The last
I
the
will
last
say
thing
they've gotten better.
they have gotten better, but like the last thing, but still, like the last thing they need right now, I feel like, is like having to worry about bullpen games, like on top of like already the usage that the usage that they're under. It's not as bad as it was at the beginning of the season, but like they're still like up there as far as like how many innings they've pitched, like relative to this point of the season.
I will
Yeah,
say credit Stearns again. He made another good trade, and this could end up being important down the line. They got Justin Garza from, I believe, the Giants, and I think
yeah, he's getting called up for Miguel.
well, no, they had used him in which series was it? It might have been the extra inning game against that's what it was, the extra inning game against the Nationals, and came in right away, and I think came into like a bases loaded 1-out situation and got out of it. And they've used him pretty regularly since. Hadn't pitched in the majors in 2 years, and I want to say he was just a cash deal, like similar to how we got Torrens last year, which is here's $600,000, and the Giants
Yeah,
like, cool, we don't have any use for him. And Justin Garza has kind of helped to take the load off a little bit in terms of going to Brazaban almost every other night, going to Garrett almost every other night.
yeah.
I don't know how much they trust Ryan Stanek right now. He's kind of been in a funk for about a month right now, so they got to hope they get him right.
100%.
And the other part of this is that the big names have hit or have started to turn it around. Soto's turned it on. Lindor's continuing to hit. Pete cooled off a little bit for the past few weeks of May and then turned it back on again. Nimmo's been hitting over 300 for about 2 weeks now. And Jeff McNeil, we talked so much about this in the offseason and then leading into the early parts of the season when he was out, was if he can hit like the McNeil that made those adjustments in the second half last year, that would do a world of good for this offense. He's doing it. This is exactly, he's been the Jeff McNeil of July last year. And the problem is they're not getting a whole lot behind those first five. And yeah, it's great. It's good to have that, but like you have to have a lineup where, I think we talked about this after the NLCS last year in terms of what was the most important thing. There was never really a point in the Dodger lineup where you're like, okay, we'll get these 2 or 3 outs right here. There's no let up. This offense has some let up after the 5 spot.
Yeah.
It's Tyrone Taylor might have a good day. You might get a good game out of Torrens. Outside of that right now,
we just had a Jose Iglesias sighting, by the way. He just grounded out.
I saw them flash his stat line, and I am not the type of ingrate to mention what he's hitting. I won't do that.
Yeah, I guess we could just say the Mets made the right choice there for anyone that may have still been worried about that.
Even if they had kept him, I don't know if he would be doing the same thing right now. But at third base, Vientos is still out. I thought Brett Beatty had kind of had the dead cat bounce of, all right, he hit rock bottom. Now we make our way back. Playing the field well, no doubt, but not hitting.
Yeah,
they had to bring Ronnie.
There are lower rock bottoms.
Yeah, it's Homer Simpson on the cliff.
Yeah,
keeps going. And Ronnie Mauricio, it's kind of gone. I know there's people upset, but also this is why I was hoping he would stay in Syracuse. I realized they had to call him up once Vientos got hurt because they needed that option. But this is why I was hoping that if all things were equal, he could have just stayed down there. He hadn't played in 18 months. He was coming back from a major injury. Like, let him mash minor league pitching for a while. Let him really build his confidence back. It's one thing to do that because he didn't even really get to have spring training like everyone else did. He got to play on like the backfields in Port St. Lucie for about a month, and then he went to Syracuse. So it's like, let him hit like upper level professional pitching for a while. Let him get familiar. Like, oh yeah, I was doing this pretty well before I got hurt. And I just don't think he was ready to see major league pitching yet. And it's kind of showed.
Yeah.
And so, right now
they're having a lot
like outside of the big five. It's a good Starling Marte game, which credit to Marte. He looked done in mid-May. I can say right now he's not. He's been a pretty crucial part of the lineup for about a month now. And you get the odd game from Tyrone Taylor, but that's not why you play him. He's in there for his defense and his speed. Outside of that right now,
there's
when
really
you get to the first five, it's very gettable.
Yeah, and then obviously Jose Siri, he's like a speedster, but he's unplayable at the plate right now.
Well, Siri also can't play because he's still recovering from injury.
He is still hurt, but I mean he is batting like 50 for the season.
Yeah, it was not going well prior to that. No.
So it seems like it also seems like Jesse Winker. I don't know if he's hurt too, but
he is.
Yeah. So there's a lot of injuries, and it seems like a lot of injuries, and just a lot of you obviously you have like this like four-headed monster plus Brandon Nimmo at the top of your lineup. And then after that, it just like falls off a cliff, and it becomes a lot, pretty much everyone after like Nimmo or McNeil in the lineup, your 6 through 9 is just a black hole. And you can't really, you can't really expect to win like that.
No.
What would you say, like, if there was like one move that, like, one area of need that the Mets need to? Obviously, we still got like a month and some change until the deadline, but it's never too early to start thinking about what do you think is like the Mets' biggest need right now?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Chris, because I don't know what the remedy is for the lineup. Because, we mentioned that Beatty and Mauricio are having their trouble at third right now. Well, you just wait until Vientos gets back. The problem is, it wasn't going so hot for him before he got hurt.
Vientos has been kind of hot and cold too.
I would also recommend that when he is ready to start playing again, to resume baseball activity, you have the 2-week window to rehab available to you. Let him hit some minor league pitching. He probably needs the confidence boost too. Like, let him get familiar. Like, let him ease back in.
Yeah, I think that would do Vientos some good. I mean, shit, even Giancarlo Stanton was hitting nukes in Somerset before he got called.
Yeah. So I mean, I know he was pressing, he's dealing with first time stardom, and it didn't start so well for him. So let him go to Syracuse or Binghamton and hit for a little bit. And so when he comes back to New York, he's like, okay, I know why I got good. I can do this.
Yeah, he's already like worked through it.
At catcher, I don't know what you do. I mean, like, the obvious answer right now is I know Torrens didn't have the best game tonight, but he's been a pretty steady hand.
Yeah, you kind of got to stick with Torrens.
I don't know what Alvarez's option situations are, because he's played so many games to this point now. I don't know what they can do. But if the possibility is there for him to go to Syracuse for a week or two and clear his head, because I think especially like just hearing him talk after the game last night, because he had the bad at bats. He had the mistake on the ball that ricocheted off the backstop, and he threw to second when he should have thrown to third. Called the wrong pitch to Garrett, which like Garrett took ownership of. But I think right now he's just so far in his own head that it's like, let him get away for it for a little bit. Yeah. I don't know how long I don't know how long he'll coast off 2023, but like, I watched that catcher He's still in there somewhere. They just got to get his mind right.
They do. Yeah, because I
think
think
part of that firing Barnes and Chavez, probably. That would probably help.
Yeah, definitely fire Eric Chavez. That tweet you sent me earlier where Chavez was telling him like, "Oh yeah, sure you hit 25 home runs last year, but when I like watch your tape, I don't think you had that good of a year." It's like that's just that's just a that's just like a loser, just a loser ass coach thing to say. And
say that to a 21-year-old who just did that as a catcher.
Yeah. And I would expect better from like Eric Chavez in that regard.
Right.
But
he should know.
Apparently, yeah, he should know, like, if anything. But apparently not. Apparently he doesn't. So that's that's pretty disappointing that
he never got the speech from Wash that it's incredibly hard.
Yeah.
You would think.
Yeah, you would think. And also, like, I do think sometimes, like, you get to a point as a you get to a point, especially in a position like catcher. I do think like sometimes you get to a point in a slump where you are so in your head that it also starts to affect your defense. And when it gets to that point,
make up for it.
Yeah. And when it gets, because then you're pressing to do more on defense, and that's when you're going to make more mistakes is when you're pressing. I think
it might have been Passan, or it might have been one of the other big names saying that like an ideal trade target for the Mets would be Cedric Mullins, which I realize he's not 2021 Cedric Mullins, which of course that would fix a few things, but I don't think center field's the issue. Like I said, Tyrone Taylor's out there because he's a great defender, and if he gets on base, he'll probably steal you a bag, and if he makes contact, it does tend to go pretty far. I kind of live by this notion that he does something good every single game. Might be in a different part of the game, but he does. And again, if this was 2021 Cedric Mullins, like, yeah, I'd hate to bench Taylor, but I would get it. Like,
right,
that player you would do it for. This version, so I don't know if there's any other outfielder right now where it's like, poor Soto's fine. Nimmo, for the time being, seems to be digging his way out of that, and that helps. But I just don't know what the instant – I don't know what bat you go get right now and just say, here, you fit, like what Cespedes did in 2015. Not that this offense is in that bad a shape, but we talked about you need someone in the 6 through 9 spot right now. And I just don't know who that guy is where it's like, oh, well, that'll solve it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll bring up a name, and I generally find him to be a little bit overrated, but also like maybe he just is on like a terrible team and needs to get out of there. But what about like Luis Robert? Is that someone that you could maybe see the Mets being in play for? I think there's even been some chatter. I think there may have even been like a little bit of chatter about the Yankees making a move for him, but like, I don't know if we really have. I mean, I guess, now that Grisham has come back down to earth from April MVP Trent Grisham, I guess, you could kind of fit Luis Robert a little bit easier into the lineup. But is that someone you think that maybe they should consider?
Well, I'm interested to hear what you would think. I guess my hesitation at getting Luis Robert is I know the talent's there, but I also know what his numbers are this year. I also know what they were last year. And granted, some of
his numbers haven't been good.
Who he's playing with, but also like if it was just the team last year, like just the nature of baseball says he would have at least been a little bit better this year.
Yeah, the fact that he's gotten even worse is kind of is definitely concerning. I would do it, for the right price, I think. Like if it was a cheap deal, which I feel like, you should probably be able to get him.
That I do wonder about, because I know they've grown some guys this year. The White Sox have, just like forget what's the name of Madiroth, one of the guys that they got from Boston for Crochet. I think he's a second baseman for them. He's turned into something. That catcher Cuero they got, he's all right. They've got a couple of pitchers that have actually kind of turned into like something, but like we said, like Crochet was going to be the guy that was going to get them something back to help start the rebuild. Luis Robert's really the last piece they have where, okay, if people still believe in this dude, they'll be willing to give up things for him. If you're the White Sox front office, that's what you're thinking is, if we move this dude, if anybody believes in him, then that's what we have to do because we got to try to get something back for him. They don't really have anything behind that, so they can't screw that up.
Yeah, because
I just wonder what they would ask our teams. And given the way the last 2 years have gone for him, I don't know if I would do it.
Yeah, because even Boston, like for Garrett Crochet, they really didn't have to. They gave up some good prospects, but like they still, I mean, they also had a very strong pipeline and still do have a very strong pipeline where, they could kind of afford to make that move, but they didn't exactly have to like break the bank to get him.
No, it was like the one guy they were willing to part with, and I think he just got called up.
Yeah. Yeah, and Robert, Robert has 2 club option years next year and in 27, and then he's set to become a UFA in 2028. So, it is one of those things like, because I know we talk about like Sandy Alcantara all the time and how like, yeah, he might have a 5 or 6 something ERA right now, but the second he's on like a real team that's not the Marlins, like that the talent's there, and you have faith in you have faith in that talent to correct itself with like a better organization.
Much of a pedigree there.
Yeah, I would like to think Luis Robert potentially could, but obviously he's a talented he's a talented ball player and a talented athlete, but yeah, it does seem like it does seem like he's a tad overrated. And yeah, I don't know if the Yankees really need like another, if the Yankees really need like another 200 hitter, especially because he's not really slugging the ball anymore either.
Yeah, in all honesty, if you had to put me on the spot right now and ask me, what do you think the Mets address at the trade deadline? I think it's going to be pitching more than anything else.
Yeah, I think both teams, both of us will be in the market for relievers. I could see us maybe being in the market for like a professional starting pitcher if, depending like, how Luis Gil looks when he comes back and like, seeing how like Will Warren progresses like in his rookie year. I think there is a world where the Yankees could trade for like a lower end starting pitcher. Although, I would also say, I think you can make this case for both of our teams, and I don't know if the ship has sailed for you guys, but there is a pitcher for the Texas Rangers whose name I have heard come up.
That would be interesting in 2 respects. Is one, what would the salary discussions be like? Because I mean, this is year 3 of a 5 or 6 year deal.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's still a decent chunk of change left on that. And remember, this is the Rangers. And I wonder if they'll be like, hey, we kind of helped you out with the Scherzer thing. Can you do the same for us? But we could also say, hey, we helped you out with the Scherzer thing.
Yeah.
You slide one back. But maybe the bigger thing.
Yeah, you guys won a World Series. Yeah.
Although Max was the Klay Thompson.
Yeah, he got
held out 5 minutes effort in that playoff run.
He got an A on the group chat, the group project, and didn't do anything. But yeah, like you guys helped them out. And also, like I would wonder if I would also wonder like, would DeGrom want to go back to the Mets? Would he want that reunion?
That's the bigger thing. Is the thing that kind of is out in the open, but I don't know how much it is, and I don't know if he's ever actually said it, but all the talk right after he left was, he didn't want to be here. And it's like, he wanted to get out of the city. He wanted to go to Texas, even though he's literally, he grew up about an hour north of where I live.
Yeah.
It's like, if
he
didn't want that life anymore, then like it hurt me, but it was like, if he doesn't want to be there, like there's no number you can throw at him. There's nothing you can sell him. that was his decision.
Yeah, if he doesn't want
now,
to be
if
there.
he wants to, cool. Would be happy to have him back. But from everything I heard, I think the next time he'll be back at Citi Field, if he's not playing for an opposing team, it'll probably be for his jersey retirement. Would be my guess.
Yeah. I would say, I guess, like the Yankees, from the Yankees perspective, I'm sure this will disgust you, even entertaining this thought of the Yankees trading for DeGrom.
I will blow this bitch up.
Do it. We have nothing. I have nothing to live for anyway. That's a joke. But, I'm not scared. But I guess my pitch would be like, why I think it could make sense for the Yankees is like, all right, like, Garrett Cole's your ace. He's hurt right now. But then you got another ace in Max Fried. And then, if Carlos Rodon continues to pitch the way he does, you have a third ace. Why not just have a fourth ace? And then when then you have four aces for those, you have four aces for those, those late October playoff series. And you should feel good about your ability to beat anyone as long as they're all healthy. So I'm thinking beyond just 2025, but I think, I think there's a world where it could make sense for us. Probably won't happen. I think he'll stay in Texas, or like if he gets traded to a contending team, it'll be a team down south or somewhere, in the middle of the country, a little more low key, like, but I kind of think he'll just end up staying in Texas. I think that they're going to, between moving the contract and what it'll take to get him, I kind of feel like he's just going to like stay there. And that's probably what he wants.
I see your vision in terms of talking about having the four aces, and certainly doesn't hurt to have, but I feel like you guys have excelled pretty well this year without having a Cy Young Award winner in your rotation.
Yeah.
And
we also have far bigger needs than another
right.
I
think if you didn't add him, I don't think it would make or break your title shot. I think if that was the only thing you did, it'd be like, yeah, good to have him, but
that doesn't.
You also still have the problems with the lineup.
Yeah,
I think that would be like a more pressing need.
Yeah, I think third base. Third base, I would say probably the biggest thing to address for us. Could you maybe use another outfielder so that Trent Grisham doesn't have to be an everyday player, because I think by all accounts he's not really an everyday player. Sure. Could you maybe use another bullpen arm? Yeah, absolutely. Who couldn't? So there are moves I think could be made. We'll do a deeper dive on, some trade deadline targets, as the deadline gets closer, in future episodes. But before we break, do you have any final thoughts just on like the Mets, where they go from here? Who they play next? I know they play the Pirates. In Pittsburgh like next weekend, because I'll be there.
Before that, we have to go to Philly for 3. And then next week we have Atlanta at Citi for 4. So and over the next 3 days, because we're doing this on Wednesday night, to close the series tomorrow, we have to face Spencer Strider, then Zach Wheeler in the opener on Friday in Philly. Yeah, and then on Saturday they throw Mick Abel, who's that rookie that's been pitching really well for them. So my closing remark is help.
Yes, help is needed, and hopefully help will be on the way. Yeah, you got Canning versus Abel on Saturday, which Canning has also he's also like come back down to earth. So and then you had to
expect at some point.
Yeah. I do think you guys I would say I feel good about your guys' chances in the Sunday matchup against Luzardo. If I'd say like if the Mets shit the bed the first 2 games and like they don't start hitting in that Sunday game, then I would say definitely time to time to be concerned.
I would hope.
But yeah, that's good.
Like we were saying before, it's like even if this team wins 90 something games, like they were going to hit this patch. They did last year too.
Yeah.
It stinks who it's happening against and how it's happening.
And
because you want to shed that tag of we can never win there. It'd be nice to go into a series in Atlanta and just be like, all right, hey, we might win this one, we might lose it, instead of dreading every time we go there. I know that takes years to fix. I would just like for that to be fixed.
Yeah. I think it kind of boils down to kind of the same thing for us. Like, you know, obviously, not that we can't beat the Red Sox, like, not that it's been like this ongoing thing. Although, I mean, you know, in recent years, you know, they kind of have been a thorn in our side at times. And there's definitely, you know, anytime you play the Red Sox, it's like, all right, like this is going to be like a frustrating game. Like even the one game they won against the Red Sox, they won that game 9-6, but they started out that game like up like 8-0, and then the Red Sox just kept like chipping away and like working their way back into the game, where it's like, oh, it's going to be one of these fucking games, isn't it? And then, like, you know, every time you play the Red Sox, it feels like it's one of those fucking games. And, you know, lately we've been coming out on the wrong side of those fucking games too much. So, you know, I think we see them again at some point, I think like end of July or early August. So I'll enjoy not having to play them for now. But next time we see him, I need this bullshit to be over with. But yeah, that's gonna and also before we break, I also just have to say, like, to the Yankees, what are we doing with Aaron Boone, and what's it gonna take for him to get fired? Because listen, the Knicks went to their first conference finals game. They went to their first conference final series in 25 years, and they decided that their coach was not the guy to get them over the hump. So it's okay to go far in the playoffs, and like I think most Knicks fans would agree that was the correct decision. Although debatable, you know, that it seems very clear they did not have any sort of plan of what they were going to do after that, but you know, that's another discussion for another day, for another podcast. But, you know, for the Yankees, like, how long are you just going to be like, okay with the status quo with Aaron Boone? I guess is my question. Cause it just seems like it just seems like no matter what happens, not that we've had this like real bottoming out season, but it just seems whatever happens, like, he's untouchable. Like, you know, nothing is his fault, and nothing that happens under his watch is going to get changed. And yeah, I'm just, you know, like many Yankee fans, I'm just sick of Aaron Boone.
It's at some point you just know what your ceiling is, which is,
yeah, it's just
very. Whether you want to say it's because of this person or if it's a specific flaw, but if the same things keep happening in the regular season and then those same things keep happening in the postseason, it's, well, clearly this is as far as a team led by him will be allowed to go. Like the way they're built, the way they are designed to play, that's it.
Yeah, it's just it's very hard to see the Yankees hoisting the Commissioner's Trophy with Aaron Boone. And that's kind of what I think it comes down to. You know, I think that's what it came down to for the Knicks, and they decided to make a move. And, you know, what's it going to take at this point? It's just it's like laughable at this point. But yeah, I needed to get that off my chest, but that's going to do it for this portion of the programming. So thank you for tuning in. Make sure, of course, that you're, you're subscribed to our YouTube channel if you fuck with us and fuck with what we're doing. And make sure you're subscribed to Middle Initial Podcast and following them as well as ourselves. So thank you for tuning in, and stay tuned for our next video where we got some other things to talk about. So we'll talk to you soon.